Welcome to the Fancy Think. I'm Jared, and it's time for another quick review. A book I just finished. The Book That Held Her Heart by Mark Lawrence, the third book in the Library Trilogy. And let me tell you, going into a third book in the trilogy that one has been enjoying brings with it some high expectations. And when those expectations are met, there is much to rejoice about. In this third volume, which may seem short, um, but it has a big heart. Big heart, get it? Uh, all of Lawrence's setup from the previous two books come to full fruition. And to be honest, I had a little bit of reservation going into this. Like what if the ending falls flat? What if it's left too open ended for like possible future series or something like that? The title of the book it kind of feels soft compared to like the first one's like the book that wouldn't burn. It's harsh and the book that broke the world. Another harsh sounding condition. And this is the book that held her heart. So it doesn't have that same harsh connotation, the conditioning, and so that's where you know judging a book by its cover. um, Worry not though, the events in here, the actions, the pace, the dialogue are anything but soft. I had a hard time putting this book down as it definitely tied up most, if not all, the loose ends in just this page turning thrill ride. Um, but it isn't just a thriller, though, of course. Lawrence sprinkles the prose with fantastic philosophical insight and some heavy themes. Some of these themes carry over from the previous volumes, but some new ones arise as well, which is great because you don't want to retread, older stuff over and over again. But like the comparisons of books to people's continues. The most prominent being the old adage about judging a book on the appearance by the cover or by the title. Um, but also there's the questions of technological innovation being the cause or the symptom of violence in society. you know um, does having more power grant one more rights? How society has a bad habit of setting up situations that absolve individuals of personal responsibility when they are performing a function of that very society. Um, there is the challenge of overcoming the binary arguments that can paralyze both function and creativity. So you have that theme of reaching and the challenge of searching for a third way, a fourth way, or multiple ways beyond that. And that's heavily explored in here. The idea of finding the magic where you are, rather than constantly chasing a fleeting concept into an endless labyrinth. And we call that going down a rabbit hole when you're searching the internet, right? um, the power of granting forgiveness rather than holding on to vengeance. That's a heavy one here. But and it just goes on and on like that. Tons of questions, and you may think that with all this jammed into these pages, there wouldn't be any room for story or characters. But worry not there. The story itself is what drives the themes. The characters are who made me ask all these questions. You already know that this series is an epic fantasy, and it really doesn't get more epic than this. And Lawrence did it in just three quick books, and a few short stories that are out there. If you haven't read those, do yourself a favor and do so. They really add quite a bit to the big picture, and they're really fun as well. Um, and there's also a couple of surprises in this book that kind of up the ante on the big picture, yet grounded the fantasy at the same time. And you'll know it when you read it. in here, but I really like how he did that. And it was surprising at the time, but now that I think about it, after reading the first two and after reading the short stories, I'm like, yeah, that totally makes sense. So, uh, yeah, it. I love how he did that, and it's hard to tell you what it is without giving stuff away, and I don't want to do that. This is, of course, non-spoiler review. Should have said that at the beginning. Um, but yeah, I really enjoyed meeting and getting to know these characters throughout the whole series, and I'll be sad to see them go. But I know they will always be there in my personal library to be with again someday. And so, if you've read the first two books, don't hesitate. Do yourself a favor and go get this. If you haven't read the first two books in this series, do so as soon as possible. And because they're really enjoyable, they're really good, very solid storytelling, very solid prose, and very easy. I wouldn't say not easy to read, but engaging, so engaging to read. Anyways, that's what I got for today for this quick review. As always, be good to each other, and thank you.